Yeah, so I have you on, Jimmy, and then I also have Anastasia Battle on. You may or may not remember Anastasia. She's another interventionist. Her and her husband right now are in the car. Um, she did an intervention against Obama back in like the late October, early November, and you know she said she screamed out, you know, you started this war back in 2014, and her husband did the same.
Oh, fantastic. Well done. Where
Thank
did you
you.
Yes.
where did
We
you
got
do that?
dragged out. It was great.
Where was that at?
That was in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, he's got a lot of balls, that guy. I gotta tell you, man. He could go back to fucking Michigan and look those people in. I mean, Flint still doesn't have clean water. I mean, it's just and
I
this
know.
$100 billion, it's just they're doing it right in their faces now. I just don't know. You know, there was a time when Bernie Sanders had a movement, and you know, I thought half the Democratic Party understood now, or at least half the people who voted in Democratic primaries understood that we have to overthrow this party. That's what I thought, and that the two parties are the same and the whole thing. And then Trump came along, and that was all. It's all over, you know. And nobody. It's amazing what gets coverage, right, and what doesn't get coverage now. Like, for instance, there's a big thing happening with the old company I used to work with, the Young Turks, because Anna Kasparian has and Jag have some different ideas about trans issues, but it's like it just goes to show you that nobody gives a shit about. They've been pro-war the whole time. No one cares. They've trashed Julian Assange, dragged his name through the mud, said he couldn't be trusted, all this stuff. He's working for Trump. As he's being imprisoned and Trump was trying to kill him with him and Pompeo. Anyway, it's just so that's what we're left fighting over now, is these, instead of stuff like war and peace and funding infrastructure. You know, did you see Tucker Carlson go after Mike Pence, saying he said, what you're concerned about is that Ukraine doesn't have enough tanks. Have you driven around this country? And Mike Pence says, that's not my concern.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just so. And now, you know, AOC is about a half turn of the screw away from being Nancy Pelosi. I think that was always the game. I think she can't wait to be Nancy Pelosi. I don't know why she just doesn't go to Hollywood and just get it over with, right? And just go ahead, get a movie of the week or whatever, or get it. I'm sure they'd give you a deal. They gave it to the royalty, right? And Megan and whatever the fuck his name is. And but anyway, well, did you guys ask me a question? I don't know how I got started on that. Sorry.
No, but thank you for starting us. We didn't even do our introduction. I mean, we could just go in cold. That was a very good, very good opening right there. Thank you, Jimmy. You know, we wanted to talk with you about the cluster bombs issue, the fact that you know, this NATO summit in Vilnius has only led to a masterclass in arrogance, and that they're going to continue pumping it. So obviously, you know, we want your thoughts. But we also wanted to talk about the solutions to it. I think, you know, a lot of people are often pessimistic about the situation we're in. And I have Anastasia on because Anastasia, with the organizers of the Rage Against the War Machine, have now cooked up another mass demonstration in front of the UN that's supposed to be of that caliber, if not bigger. And well, Anastasia, you go through it. You know, you're the main organizer of this thing.
Yeah. No, what we've been pulling together is it's not just in the United States. This is going to be an international rally on the anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing on August 6th. And so we've been working with No to NATO, who you might be aware of. This is with George Galloway and Claire Daly and the Workers' Party over there in the UK. We've got folks in India and Malaysia, Germany, France. All sorts of people are going to be participating on this day, either doing demonstrations, events, vigils, what have you, as an international call to stop nuclear war.
Oh,
this can never be won. This must never be fought. And we have to unite humanity because, quite frankly, the whole freaking world leadership are a bunch of lunatics who think we can win a world war, who think we can win thermonuclear war. And that's what they're going for. Russia had already signed a contract, a peace treaty, and we just keep giving weapons to Ukraine. We keep sabotaging this thing. So we're going to have a number of demands that are going to come out at this rally at the UN. One, to stop sending weapons and money to Ukraine. Two, to immediately have unconditional peace negotiations. Three, to dissolve NATO. And four, we need to convene the world together to work through a new security architecture. This geopolitical bullshit has got to stop. We have to take the concerns of every nation into account, not just, the United States, NATO, or even Russia. This has to include the whole world. So we're bringing the global south, right, the developing nations of the world who don't want to be in the middle of this whole thing. They're saying this has got to end. You're going to kill everybody, including us. What the hell? So that's what we're pulling together right now.
Well, this sounds very much like white supremacy talk. I don't know. I don't even know if I should even be a part of this. Really, this is very white nationality of you. Anyway, but that's hilarious. We all laugh because it's crazy that they're all war pigs, right? Everybody from Bernie Sanders to AOC and everybody in between. They're all even more. They even got Ro Khanna to a red bait journalist asking him questions about the funding for the war. It's just amazing. And they do it right out in the open. I mean, Chris Hedges said it, I don't know, now 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that they lie, cheat, and steal. And they do it right out in the open now. And nobody can, and the idea that they're upset at Trump because he was lying in Washington.
Yeah,
that's of course that, oh my God, he's lying. Now everybody's going to do it. So they got upset because Trump gave away the game about war when they asked him, why are you keeping troops in Syria? And he said, for the oil. And it's like, that's it. The whole world saw the president of the United States tell people why we are occupying illegally another country so we can steal their natural resources. I mean, we've always known that's why we do it, but that's the first president I've ever heard just say it. And so that's why they had to get rid of him. And he's the bad face of imperialism. He doesn't know how to lie. He likes telling the truth about the deep state and shit, mainly because they've been trying to sabotage and throw him in jail since he got elected, or even before, as we now know. And what's interesting too is that people don't exactly as when I worked at the Young Turks, and I would try to warn them as they kept repeating the FBI and the DNC concocted Russiagate conspiracy. They would do it word for word and call anybody who was trying to debunk that a conspiracy theorist and a right winger, which is what I did. I debunked Russiagate from day one because it wasn't hard to do. It was anyway. So not to pat myself on the back too hard, but we told them that this is going to lead, Russiagate is going to lead to they're going to use this against somebody like Bernie Sanders, which they exactly did. And then it's also going to lead to hostilities with the nuclear power. That's exactly what's happening, and nobody gives a shit. They're all pro Ukraine war anyway. I just don't understand how people can't see through this stuff. I do. You came and you saw me at the Coho's music hall, I just, it's like, they've lied about every war in my life, right? They lied about Vietnam. They lied about Syria. They lied about Iraq twice. They lied about Libya. They lied about Afghanistan every 20 years. But I just think they're telling the truth about this one. I mean, everybody at the Young Turks, and not to pick at the Young Turks, honest, not to do that, but just every day just fall for it every fucking time. It's just amazing to me. And but most people do, and they think, people, I'm out in comedy clubs almost every night. And so, when you talk to people will get like, they get insulted when I say, you don't know what's going on in Ukraine. And they go, Jimmy, I read 3 newspapers a day. I had people say that to me. Jimmy, I read 3 newspapers a day. Oh, really? Which billionaire funded CIA infiltrated news, or because, and that guy was talking about the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Boston Globe. I'm like, that's where you're getting your news. Of course, that's why you don't know what's going on in Ukraine at all. Anyway, so I just don't know how to overcome it. See, they're letting them do it right in front, like $100 billion out the door, while people are living under every bridge in this city for sure, and almost every city I go to. So, and still 100, 200,000 people a year die from fentanyl. I think Tucker Carlson was making that point the other day. Isn't it amazing? That's how corrupt this country is, that someone like me and Tucker Carlson could outdo. I mean, Tucker Carlson's certainly kicking every journalist's ass right now. He's the only person telling the truth about the Ukraine war. They're literally lying about it. It's funny to watch Rachel Maddow do. She's like a weapons salesperson. It's unbelievable, isn't it, to watch? How about when Max Blumenthal confronted her at that weapons thing, right? Wasn't that by Raytheon or something? It was somebody like that. And she was there. She's going to tell you about how we need to spend more money because there's a right-wing Nazi threat here at home, not in Ukraine. Here at home, you got to be even more scared. That was her speech, is what I understand. Max was telling me a little bit about it. And anyway, so I don't know. I appreciate people like you and bringing and really doing something, and not, what people need to understand is how you build coalitions too, is, and you can't, you have to be single-minded, right? So if someone's against the war, that's it. That's all you have to do, is be against the war for us to work with you. There's no other agenda. It's not, and that's, by the way, how you build more, right? You build movements, you get people, you engage, and they get to see, and they get to change their ideas. And so, anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Well, I can just say something on that. I mean, part of the operation that we're doing with this International Peace Coalition, there's now like 80 or 90 different people who have come through this, probably like 20, maybe 23 different organizations now that have been participating. And our idea is that we need to get every independent journalist we possibly can get our hands on, create our own media, linking up. And I don't have to agree on everything, but start reporting and talking about, like, for instance, this international demonstration, right? This isn't just like mine. This is going to be all of ours. Humanity needs to make a stand here. We're actually calling the rally Humanity for Peace, just to be inclusive of everybody. And geez, one of our our press secretary is he's pulled together, I think, 800 independent journalists now, and we're going to be getting press releases out. And our speakers are going to include, like, Scott Ritter. We're talking to other people. Gerald Celente, Jose Vega will be on there. We got Mike Termat. We've got other presidential candidates who are talking about speaking at this thing. But we're pulling this together on an emergency basis, like completely scrappy. It's got to be on the ground. People need to be in motion. This is not some like show and tell time of look how important I am and how beautiful, my microphone is or something. But people need to actually speak out about this, and especially from Americans, because the rest of the world thinks we're all crazy. They think we're all absolutely nuts, and that we actually want this, which is not true. That is not true.
That is not true. So where's this event taking place?
At the UN.
New York City.
Okay.
New York City.
Okay. What time?
At 1:00, 1 to 4 on August 6th. That's a Sunday. Which, Jimmy, you are very welcome to speak if you'd like to go.
And so how do you do? You just go do you have to get a permit or something? How does that work?
Yeah, we've got a permit. We're working on getting more, equipment and everything like that to get set up. Like I said, everything's being pulled together on an emergency basis. We're working with all these different groups to make this happen.
That's right.
And where do you get your funding from? Communists?
Couple white supremacists, some Nazis.
Steve Bannon bankrolling you?
Well, obviously, it's the Chinese and the Russians. They're obviously the ones that are financing us, right? They have all the money, and they want world peace. Which is just their, influence.
this is being put together on a shoestring budget. You know, if it needs money, fine, but we're doing our best. Really, we're asking people to kind of just like chip in their time more than anything else. You know, for example, our website was made by a volunteer who did the Rage Against the War Machine website. He just said, you know what, I've got my own server. We're gonna do it ourselves, you know, and that's what the homie did. And
They're
you
gonna
know,
attack it. They're gonna attack it.
oh, of course. Well, but see, here's the but there's one angle they don't have is that look, we have it's not just Americans, we have former presidents, like the former president of Guyana is on our coalition. We have former congressmen in other countries on our coalition, former diplomats, present diplomats on our that we just had the summit in France where we had present and past Russian diplomats, French diplomats, Chinese diplomats all speak at our conference endorsing the August 6th rally, because we just got a report recently where the Russians are looking at the population of the United States and saying, like, is there a voice of reason and sanity in the United States, or should we just abandon all hope with ever negotiating with the United States and just go on the full frontal assault? So
I know. We are the terrorists. We are the maniacs. We are the world's terrorists. And it's funny. It's weird to realize, like, it's not a joke, right? It's funny kind of to say, but it's actually true. And there's no bigger murderous empire in the world than the United States. It's unbelievable. And people seem to just keep falling for it. You know, it'd be one thing if they sent $100 billion to America at the same time, you know, and at least, you know, cleaned up homelessness and got people drug treatment and, you know, but no, they didn't do anything. They won't do a fucking thing. They wouldn't even they won't clean out the prisons, right? Because some corporations making money off it, right? And it's, yeah, but they will give you, you know, Black Lives Matter, and Nike, they're very into helping people.
yeah.
Isn't it funny how everything gets co-opted, and now how they're using climate change to squash farmers? That's what was wrong. That's what's wrong with the planet. There are too many farms. That's the problem. I always thought that. I don't know. I know we're getting off track. But,
no, we're not. This is we have farmers on our coalition who are saying this exact thing. We're very much in touch with people in the Netherlands who are like, yeah, I don't know if you know about the situation in the Netherlands with the farmers.
Yes.
They go,
Yes.
right, okay, yeah, our people helped, you know, some of that effort over there. We had people go over there on the ground reports. You know, one of our guys, Bob Baker, who's a farmer out in the Midwest, he gave like a whole speech in the Netherlands, you know, of support, that we support the farmers. You know, I mean, what you're saying about climate change being co-opted, we're very familiar with that concept. We've been yelling and screaming about that for
hey, I don't really, the people at the top who are screaming the loudest about climate change, you know, like when you hear somebody like Klaus Schwab, you know, get worried about climate change, right? That or Bill Gates, but they all still fly around on private jets and yachts, and they have 80 homes and all that. I don't think they really believe it. I think this is I don't think they, and by the way, there's no way if climate change is happening the way they say it is, you know, if it's, you know, all man-made and carbon. By the way, the #1 carbon emitter in the world, you know, this is the U.S. military.
Yeah.
So right away, nobody's ever saying, hey, maybe we shut down couple of hundred military bases, huh? Maybe that would help if you're serious about this. But no, the first thing they do is they go, we got to take it's those goddamn Dutch farms. Oh my God. I can't even breathe. There's so much Dutch farming happening. We got to go right to the source of the problem. And it's just like, yeah, if that was like the 12th thing down the list or the 15th, I would maybe take it seriously. But there's no way I'll ever listen to anything they say about climate change ever again. And my point of view is shifted on this a little. There is no way that they're not going to burn the last barrel of oil underneath the earth. They are. There's no way they're ever going to. It's going to happen. And we're not, when there's no way, we're already past the tipping point. So why don't they start thinking about mitigation? Like if they, first of all, there's lots of things happening. A lot of their models haven't worked out the way they've said they were supposed to work out, but they're pretending like they did. And they're even getting more alarmist so they can have even more control over us, just like with that pandemic, which turns out that virus was only deadly to people who were around 82 years old with a couple of comorbidities. It was always overblown. It always had a low fatality rate, pretty much like the flu, but a little different. And that's the words from Bill Gates after he cashed in his stock $500 million. The people who were running the response to that, the people who locked everyone down and wiped them out economically, was making $500 million. That's Bill Gates. He's the one who funded the WHO. He's the biggest funder of the WHO. People say, no, China is. No, he is also has Gavi and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You put those two together, there he's the biggest funder, and they already have admitted, the last head of the WHO, that they have to do what their funders say they do. And so this guy is over here squashing everybody while he makes $500 million. And then he says, oh yeah, it turns out it wasn't that bad of a, so they're doing the same thing about climate change. Those people who want to change, shut down those Dutch farms, they don't give a fuck about climate change. They just want to use that as an excuse to shut down people's farms and somehow transfer wealth upward. That's what they're doing, that under the guy. And Greta Thunberg is a tool of them. She is a tool of the war pigs and the people who are the polluters. Why isn't she more upset about the Nord Stream pipeline? Why don't I hear her screaming about that? Because she's a psyop. That's why.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, this climate change thing, I mean, you could say that it was co-opted or over. I mean, honestly, the whole thing's just been bullshit. I mean, you have, quote unquote, developed nations going into Africa saying, oh yeah, we'll cut you a sweet deal with these carbon credits. If you sell off your carbon credits, which by the way, this is what Africans are supposed to use in order to develop in their countries. They say, if you sell off a few million of these, then yeah, we'll get you some money. But what does that mean for them? It means that over the next 10, 15, 20 years, they can't build shit. They can't build anything. Right. And people are treating this as if this is a good deal. And so you have a whole movement now in Africa and in the developing world saying, fuck you. We don't want to go along with that. Excuse me. We want to work with China. We want to work with the BRICS. We want to develop an actual mature economic system so we can be sovereign again. And these are the groups that we're bringing in. That's what we're bringing in internationally. If we can combine the peace movement with this anti-imperialist movement going on in the rest of the world, that's what's actually going to win this thing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's why the August 6th thing is so important, because the week after, the BRICS is having their international summit. So all the BRICS nations are coming together 1 week after our peace meeting, and we're in touch with the media of all of those countries in one way or another. For example, TASS is going to come and cover the August 6th rally. Like, we know that for a fact. That's, Russian state media over there. And then we have people in Brazil who are going to want to cover this too. We definitely have people in Russia, India, definitely. China, we know people are going to want to cover it. And then a bunch of the other nations, with people, representatives of countries that we have there, they want to cover this too. Now, it's awfully important because, people have a very cynical mindset where they say, well, the United States isn't going to join BRICS, and China and the BRICS nations aren't interested. But every year, the Chinese always extend the invitation to the United States. And I think that's kind of an optimistic viewpoint. It's kind of like an exit ramp. If you think about it, it's like, hey, here's an exit ramp to get out of your imperial ways, join the BRICS, and develop the world with us all. It's a win-win solution, right? And so I kind of like that, because if you do get an RFK Jr., or if you do get a Cornel West, that's the exit ramp right there to stop war indefinitely. It's like, you know what? We're just going to join this developing nations corridor. Fuck it, right? Why rely on the military-industrial complex for our economy? Let's go and join the BRICS rather than the MIC.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, they would kill him. They would kill him. That's why. That's why.
Well, that's why what we have this campaign where we're trying to mobilize the presidency, but not exactly the electoral process. I think RFK Jr. has been very much shaped by the actions that Americans have been doing. And, he listens to people. I really admire that about him. He is humble enough to say, I don't know, when he doesn't know something. And he's willing to stand corrected when he's presented with different information. That's a presidency right there. And when I say shape the presidency, you have to think of famous relationships like Frederick Douglass to Lincoln, right? Or how Martin Luther King Jr. helped shape the JFK presidency. These were presidents that were transformed by the citizenry. And I think RFK Jr. has those qualities, but really you can apply that to the whole process right now, see who else pops their head in. And it's a matter of, well, will the citizens' actions reflect the presidency? That's kind of like the whole outlook we have for the next year and a half. Yeah.
Well, it's I wonder why a guy who obviously knows what it's like to have to stand up to smears and the worst kind of slander and character assassination possible, because he knew his truth, and but still somehow just knuckles under to the Israel lobby. I don't understand why he does that. Isn't that weird?
I agree. I do. And I had the same instinct you did. And then he gave this speech on June 20th. It was like commemorating his uncle's speech.
Yeah, that was great. It was a great speech. But...
Yeah, I sent you the original one back in 1963. I think I sent it to you and Steph. The original speech that Kennedy 63 gave at American University.
I think I played.
You did. You did. I recognized the subtitles. I was like, oh yeah, that's his subtitle. That's his signature style. But he gave this speech where he said, we have a problem in the world where we paint people out to be the bad guys and the good guys. Everyone's a villain and everyone's a hero. And it made me reflect, because I was like, maybe there are people in Israel who don't see themselves as villains. They just see themselves as, and there are people who have that mindset. I've had this on my show where people came on my show and said, if the Palestinians put down their weapons, there'd be peace in the Middle East. But if the Israelis put down their weapons, they would be overrun and genocided by the Palestinians. That kind of mentality is also wrong. What the hell do you mean? That's not at all what happened. But people have this like, there's villains and heroes mindset on both sides. And Kennedy is saying, no. We have to supersede that. And remember that everyone at the level is a human being. And so when he said that, I was like, man, okay, see, that actually opens up the avenue to working with people you may not agree with, but also working with people to fix problems in the world that might seem like they can never be solved, i.e. China working with Saudi Arabia to broker peace, right, between, who was it, Saudi Arabia and
Iran.
And Iran. Yeah, right. Like what was, you never could see that in a million years. And then here comes the Chinese and being the peace brokers of the world. So there's good things that can happen. There's a lot of room for optimism.
So the intelligence community, sabotaged Trump a million ways, as Chuck Schumer said, 6 ways to Sunday. Which is just amazing that the head of the Democrats in the Senate could say that on national television and nobody goes, what? The president's supposed to be afraid of the CIA? I didn't know that. What? And isn't that weird? He said it.
I know.
And so that's what they did to Trump, right? Because he ran on a policy of ending the Middle East wars and being a non-interventionist. That was what he ran on. And so that was all they needed to want to get rid of him and slander him and, do this Russiagate hoax. And now because of the Durham report, we know it was all a Russiagate hoax. It was all made up by the FBI and the DNC and Hillary Clinton, and that they all knew it. Even President Obama knew it. And no one, again, it's just, but when I tell people this, in comedy clubs and nightclubs, I'll say, the Durham report proved that it was all a hoax. And they'll go, what's this called? And I go, the Durham report. They go, where'd you hear about this? That's what they say. Where'd you hear about this? And so, no, of course, the media doesn't want you to know that it was a hoax because they spent 6 years telling you it was real. And Rachel Maddow, got rewarded with $100,000 a day contract for having the biggest ratings while pushing the most nonsensical, hysterical, red baiting, Russia gating stories ever in the world. And none of them were true. And that's the world we live in, right? There's 6 companies that own all the media, and it just I don't, right out in the open, they're trying to kill Julian Assange, and everybody knows in the news media why, because he did journalism, and nobody gives a shit. I just don't really, I'm starting to like get to where George Carlin was. Like, I don't really know if there's much hope for the human race. Like maybe time doesn't exist anyway. And just in this set of consciousness, in this place, in this plane, right? There's other levels. And so I don't know. I'm really kind of getting ready to give up.
No.
Well, Jimmy, you should do an intervention with us. That'll really get you.
That'll make you optimistic.
Nothing. We couldn't even get we couldn't even get the squad to do anything. Nothing. Not a thing. They wouldn't do anything. And then the people who were supposed to hold him accountable wouldn't even hold him accountable. Like that's another thing. Like what? So I don't,
Check this out, Jimmy. Look, we had somebody who helped us fund 50 of these posters. It's AOC's face looking all, brave, and then it says war on the bottom. It's supposed to be like an Obama hope thing,
Yeah.
And we put out the file if people want to print their own, or they can buy it from us if they'd like to support us. But we're gonna put these on her office door tomorrow. We're gonna film it and go to her district office, which is just down the street from me. We're gonna knock, and if they don't let us in, then we'll just tape this to the door because people should know who represents them. And we're gonna paste these around her district so people can know what she actually stands for. I understand, Jimmy, your kind of like pessimism also, like, can we do it? My take on the AOC situation, I get a lot of heat on this, is that I do think she was real. She did stand for something. I say that in that very famous intervention that Kynan and I did back in October. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. And she just endorsed Biden, right? You saw this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's she's just pissing right in our faces. She doesn't give a shit, man. It's unbelievable. It is amazing. And of course, she goes on that pro-war security state podcast called the Pod Save America. Those guys right from anyway, and so that's all. Where else can she go besides there, or have Jeremy Scahill give her a softball interview again over at the Intercept? Those guys at the Intercept suck so hard, don't they? It's unbelievable. Jeremy Scahill used to be like this anti-war guy, and now they totally got him. It only took a couple $100,000 a year, and they got him. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's and Ryan Grimm too is another one of these at the Intercept who.
Yeah, but he was never anything. But Ryan Grimm was never anything, so it's not a disappointment. It's just fun to have a guy like that around. But Jeremy Scahill is a real tragedy, right? He actually had promise.
Yeah, and look, I think at this point in where we are in the world, the situation, as hopeless as it may seem, also presents an opportunity for us to leave it behind. In a good way, I mean, like not leaving the United States behind, but leaving this war mentality behind. Because at the same time that countries like France continue to fund the war, the NATO war, they're destroying themselves and they're imploding themselves. And it's funny because that was the idea of sanctions, right? That if we starve enough children to death in Syria, they'll overthrow Assad. Funny enough, that's happening in France to themselves, right? They're not doing anything for their own population. So the population is like, you know what? We're tired of Macron, right? We're tired of this.
When does that happen here? When is that going to happen here? You know what? It's funny. I say on stage that, when I'm on stage in Los Angeles and people don't know I'm coming, so they're just a random assembly of people, I'll say, they've been rioting for months in France. Nobody even knows it. I said, then that's because they raised the retirement age from 62 to 64. In America, we raise it to 67. Nobody even knows. And everybody's upset about Bud Light. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's how propagandized this country is. And that's how the narrative control is so, you know, that's what they have. That's why they have to discredit RFK so hard. That's why they had to discredit Bernie so hard. That's why they had, you know, all that stuff. No, that's all. You know, the thing is, there's no way they're going to let RFK. The reason why they have super delegates is for exactly this reason, is for RFK Jr. So they're just not going to let it happen, and you know, they'll call him a Russian, right? They're trying to make him anti-Semitic again twice, even though he's gay.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? No matter what he does, they're going to call him anti-Semitic. Isn't that funny? Because it works, I guess.
Well, they did that to Bernie, and Bernie's a Jew.
I know.
Yeah. So, you know, first, Jimmy, I just want to say thanks again for coming on. I know, you know, you've been traveling and stuff, so I appreciate it. Anastasia, do you have anything else to say?
Well, look, I mean, the thing that I'd say is I think we should just put everything we got into this moment. I mean, the reaction that we're getting to this rally as an emergency mobilization is actually quite electric. It's pretty electric. People have been waiting to do something, actually. They wanted to hear from somebody, like, what the hell do we do? And this makes sense because it actually is bringing people together, not just, we're mad at you at the Pentagon, when are you going to do something, or something like that. But it's like, it's a call, an international call from all of humanity for sanity, really is what it is. And we should just give up whatever bullshit people have. If I hate this guy because they were mean at me like 20 years ago, we should just let it go. Just let it go. Like you know, I'm talking to Republicans, I'm talking to libertarians, I'm talking to everybody. People that I personally have said some pretty mean things about in the past. But you know what? I'm willing to give all that shit up right now to work together to save humanity. We can work the rest of it out later.
That's how you organize.
That's right.
So it's called, tell me it's called again, Humanity what?
Humanity for Peace, and humanityforpeace.net. That's the website.
Humanityforpeace.net. Okay. Humanity for Peace. Okay. Yeah, I like it.
Like we said, Jimmy, you're more than welcome to be a speaker. And if you need a flight paid, I'm sure we can get $20. We could pass the hat and, you know, get you here.
No problem. No. I can always find a reason to go to New York if I have to. So, but if my schedule allows, I will try to be there. And if I can't be there, I'll certainly help promote it on my show.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Well, you know what? Anastasia makes some great margaritas. That's enough of a reason to come over to New York City, in my opinion.
Hey man, I was just in Georgetown in Washington D.C. I did shows in Baltimore with Max Blumenthal and Steph Friday and Saturday, and so I was in Georgetown Thursday night. You ever been to Georgetown?
I've only driven through it.
Oh, it's beautiful. I just couldn't. Everywhere I was like, man, you really make a lot of money, you know, raping and pillaging other countries, and just like look at what they, but you know, you can't say it doesn't get you anything. Look how beautiful Georgetown is, right? It's just like, yeah, you know, we rape and pillage, but look at how nice we did it. I can't believe how nice it was. It made me almost want to move there. But it's like everywhere you look, it's like you're reminded of the War Machine. But yeah, anyway, but it is beautiful. It's like there's this, but it's kind of like you're in Berlin during the Nazi Germany, you know, it's kind of like that, like it's beautiful. And it's like,
It is really, it is. It's like, I mean, this IPC meeting, the International Peace Coalition, we're treating it as a private discussion of only vetted people that we can trust. Like, it is like an underground movement. Yeah. Like, you know, and you're also welcome to join that. It's a private meeting. It's not public, but you're welcome, you know, to come into that, to be part of these discussions. But like, we need more people that we can trust like this, who can say and look at each other in the eye, like, I know that you're not going to sell me out to the damn Nazis, and we're going to work together to the very end to bring down empire, period. That's
There's a lot of people that I thought would never sell me out to the Nazis, and all it took was COVID, and they sold me out to the Nazis. It's unbelievable. Chomsky being the biggest one.
Yeah. Well, he's got other questions to answer. I mean, you know. So, anyway, I want to be respectful of your time, Jimmy.
Okay.
So I want to thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now. There's one more thing I want to ask you, but I'll ask it off the recording. And everyone watching, thank you for tuning into a special broadcast of Declaring Independence. This was Jose Vega and Kainan Thistlethwaite, and we are out.